I was all moved in for my first week of college. I had butterflies in my stomach, still had no idea where to find anything on campus, and just wanted to be everyone's friend. And I was headed into my first Hispanic Student Association meeting, nervous and excited at the same time. I'm sitting there in this meeting that I was so pumped for, and all of a sudden I realized I was white. Like, really white. I know it sounds funny, I mean, I own a mirror, but when I was there in that room and I was one of the only white people in there, I realized it like I really never had before. You see, I didn't grow up around a lot of diversity, so for most of my life, I was the most Latina one in my school and my classes. Even though maybe I didn't look the part, that was me. And everyone knew that that was me. I got cast to play the Latina role in Bye Bye Birdie. I was the one who got to talk to my class about my culture and about how awesome it was to be Puerto Rican. And all of a sudden, I was having some identity crisis, my friends, especially because I was Latina, right? I'm here in this room trying to understand the Spanish flying around me that I'm pretty sure I could understand if they would just slow down, trying to decide if I was Latina. And it felt weird because in my heart I knew I was the Puerto Rican princess that my abuela always told me that I was, but some of the people standing around me, they sure didn't seem to buy it. I mean, thank God my maiden name was Fuentes, because it was like once they heard Fuentes, they believed it. At least this white girl has a Latino last name, right? And then they tell me some story about, oh yeah, I have this light-skinned cousin. You must be like her, right? But no, that's not me either. I am Latina, but I am white. That part doesn't usually take as much convincing. My dad has dark olive skin, eyes so dark they're almost black, and if you look really close, you can tell his hair used to be jet black too. My mom, she looks basically like I will in 20 years or so. Brown hair, light eyes and skin. I've known and loved them for my entire life. But it took coming to college for me to realize I am biracial. Knowing and understanding that this was my reality did not help me understand the feelings that I was having. I was thoroughly confused. It wasn't until my first year of graduate school, years later, when a woman named Julie taught me about who I was. I took a multicultural counseling class, and suddenly things began to click. I learned about root and postin, and that a lot of people who are biracial go through these identity development stages. And right there in front of my eyes, things like not knowing where I fit, feeling like I had to choose one group over the other, confusion about who I really was. Those things were in my textbook, and that felt really good. Before that, I was pretty sure I was the only one who was so confused about being biracial. I mean, it doesn't sound that complicated when you hear it until you're living it. Your white friends don't really get why your culture is so important to you, and your Latino friends, they want to believe you, but your Spanish is really funny. You see, identity is this word that people throw around. It's a concept that people think that they understand. But here's a question for you. What's your identity? It's a hard question. And if no one ever teaches you, how can you really be expected to know? I didn't know the fact that I look a lot more like my white mom than my Puerto Rican dad gave me privileges. I didn't even know that I had privileges, and that my world would have been completely different if I had brown eyes and dark skin and spoke Spanish instead of Spanglish. I I couldn't help but wonder, what if I never took that class? What if no one ever taught me that the feelings that I was having were real and valid and normal even? I mean, look around. No, really, right now, look around. Our world is diverse. And every day, more and more children from mixed descent come into this world. And as far as I'm concerned, they deserve a chance to know how awesome that can be. So throughout that first semester of graduate school, my passion and understanding for diversity just grew and grew. And before I knew it, I was sitting in my office with Esperanza, who, like me, was biracial, white and Latina, spoke very little Spanish, but unlike me, she looked much more Latina than white. We were so alike and so very different at the same time. And I got to pull out my notes, and I got to show her that what she was feeling was normal, and that if she could learn to embrace it, she would be able to get to the same place of understanding just like I was able to. But I couldn't let it stop there. In my office with Esperanza, so now I teach a class that I created, modeled after that class that changed my life, where I get to share the same sorts of things with dozens of students every single year. It's been a journey full of ups and downs. And now I have 3 little blonde-haired, light-eyed babies. They are my Puerto Ricans, as my husband calls them, because they're a quarter Puerto Rican. Some of you just got it there. The littlest ones don't get it much yet, but the biggest, she's 8, and she will tell you she is Puerto Rican any day. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't dread the day when someone tells her she's not, because of what she looks like, or because her Spanish isn't good enough. The girl tries, but she's really got to learn to roll her R's. I dread it because that part of being biracial, the part where people don't believe you because you don't fit their expectations for your ethnic or racial group, that part is hard. But man, I'm so proud of her for knowing her roots. It reminds me of when I was her age and how proud I was to be Puerto Rican and how my identity was forming before I even knew what that word meant. I was just bragging to my friends that I got presents on 3 Kings Day and they didn't. Loved eating fresh fried tostones and dancing to salsa music in the living room with my dad. I was celebrating Easter in Kansas, finding plastic eggs left by a huge bunny, and waking up super early to get a cherry kolache because obviously those are the best. I was growing up biracial. My identity was forming, but to me, it was just one world. I'm so thankful that someone taught me that this collision of worlds that makes me who I am is beautiful. And that now I get to pay that forward by sharing with all of my students that their collisions, that all of your collisions are beautiful too. I am white. Soy Boricua. I'm biracial. Thank you.